Hi, Greg McCollum here. If you're like I was and you want to know the secret to success, if you were like I was, you were desperate to find the secret to success and you want to know the answer, tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosper Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. I left the DA's office in end of 1993, and from 93 until about 2013, which is, I guess that's what's 20 years. I got to the point where I was just desperate for success, and what I did wasn't working. I mean, it was working. I was a successful lawyer. I had clients. I had an office. I was in court, but I plateaued, and I plateaued relatively early, and I just didn't know what to do about it. And beyond that, I didn't even know that there was anything to do about it. At some point, and probably for years, I told myself, or I believed what other people told me, which is that there's no money in criminal law, and that's your chosen profession. You have to suffer for it. It's part of the culture of lawyers in general. They if you go and study it and look at it, the doctrine of sacrifice is they really teach us. If you look at the bar rules and the rules of professional responsibility and listen to judges that tell you about, for example, say you don't have the money to get an expert on your case, or the client owes you money and you want to withdraw or something like that, they fight you on it because as a profession, you just have to power through it. And so that creates this whole mindset for criminal defense lawyers, and it's prevalent. And if you've been practicing law for any period of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about, is we're supposed to rise above it. We're supposed to rise above the pain that we can be in terms of we didn't get paid here, we've got bills, but we still go to court and fight gallantly for the client, and we do that, and that's what we do. And that's not a business model, and it is admirable. And that's the thing that lawyers don't really get credit for. That you got the lawyer jokes and lawyers are sharks and all this, but we're really not. The criminal defense lawyers are really one of the most giving professions that I know of. And you think about the public defenders and their caseload and their workload and the stress that they go through, and how giving they are and how they sacrifice themselves for others. That's what we do. That's what I did. And if you're a criminal defense lawyer, I know without even speaking to you that that's what you do as well. And I've been around criminal defense lawyers my whole adult life, my entire profession. That's what I've done. And I've traveled across the country, and I've been to seminars, and I was very active in the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And so, I met you. I met people like you. So I know that this exists. And so it got to a point where that what's going on, and a good friend of mine that I talk about sometimes, Kirk and I, we were training partners. We shared a personal trainer at Gold's Gym, and so we worked out regularly three days a week. So we'd have conversations, not while we were training, because we weren't going to talk about it in front of our trainer, but when we arrive at the gym in the parking lot, or mostly when we were leaving, we'd linger around our cars and talk about it. And we were both frustrated because we didn't know the secret to success. We didn't know there was anything to do. And we were just kind of lost because we did good work. We were good lawyers. And he's an excellent lawyer, and he's won some unbelievable cases. And for instance, he got retained on a felony DUI case where I think the woman had what I would describe as a good lawyer representing her, and the lawyer recommended that she take a plea deal, and I don't remember what it was, but I think it was, it was 10 or 12 years or 8 years or something like that. And she was, I think she was about 50 years old or maybe a little younger. She had a child that was maybe under the age of 10 or 12, and she was the sole provider, and she had a career, and she was, fairly successful financially, and she just couldn't bear the thought of going to prison. And the facts of the case are, she was out on this kind of highway outside of Myrtle Beach, like 30 miles out of town, and she had pulled over for some reason. It was dark and the road wasn't well marked, and she turned the wrong way. So she drove, head first, or another car, they crashed, head first, and it was a head-on collision. And then what happened was the occupant in the other car, one of the occupants in the other car, died from the crash. The woman's car caught on fire with a child in the car, and somebody somehow dragged the child out of the burning car, and then now she's charged with being intoxicated and causing that accident. Those are the facts. So he tries that case, and the prosecutor, the district attorney, everybody, they're very, and if you tried cases, you know how they are. They're very arrogant and just confident, and we can't believe you're trying this case, and your lady's going to prison for 25 years now because you won't listen or whatever. So he tries the case, and he finds out, he really studies the crime scene, and he looks at the way the road is marked and everything, and there really isn't the wrong way sign. It's not there. And the conditions that night, I can't remember if it was rainy or foggy or something, but I think he had an expert, and he argued it, and he looked at it, and her being intoxicated really didn't cause the accident, basically. And so he tries that case for several days in Conway, South Carolina. He gets a not guilty. Not guilty. It's over. It's over. She's not guilty. That's the end of the case. He said also during the trial that even the deceased family, were learning things about the case. And this happens too. If you tried a lot of cases, you know this. They learned things about the case in his defense that they did not know, because the police didn't share that with them. Because, as you well know, the police when they reconstruct these things, they just leave out all the exculpatory evidence. They just leave out everything that might point to something other than guilt. And he said even the deceased family, and I don't know if they were sympathetic, but they had kind of come around to see the explanation. So the reason I tell that story is that's my friend, okay? And I could tell stories like that about me, about cases where I did something similar. So that makes us question, and that would make anybody question, why isn't there a line of people outside his office trying to hire him to basically save their life? Where's the disconnect there? How good do you have to be in order to be in demand? Why would anybody hire another lawyer if they could hire him in that situation? And it's puzzling, and we didn't know the answer. And so the thing was, there was just certain things that we didn't know. We didn't know how to make money. We didn't know that being that good just wasn't enough. It's in some respects, I would say being that good is almost irrelevant, and it shouldn't be. And you have your loyal client base, but in criminal defense, a lot of the times we represent somebody one time, and that woman she's never been arrested before. She probably never gets arrested again. And so where's the continuity of that, and how does that affect you? So since that time, since about 2013, I learned some things about how to change my life, and my life has changed drastically. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that there was just a point to where I was stuck, and then I learned some things and did some things, and it broke loose. It's almost like breaking a ship out of the ice, or something like that, where all of a sudden, my small ship is now moving forward, and I'm moving in a successful way. So what did I do? The main thing that changed is that I took some risks, and I risked losing money, I risked getting scammed, and I risked some time. But the time risk really wasn't that big a deal for me because I had time because I wasn't that busy. But the one thing I did three things basically. I put myself in what I'll call a success club. I then learned what to do, and then two, I took some steps and had faith, because faith is when you don't know what the outcome is. And then three, I kept going, and four, I acquired, and this is the most important part, specialized knowledge. And if you've read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that's the key to success. There are other things, but that's specialized knowledge. Well, I had all kinds of specialized knowledge, and my friend Kirk did too, about how to try a case, what to do in a criminal case, how to prepare a criminal defense case, and how to present that to a jury or how to negotiate something. But I had no specialized knowledge about how to grow and build and run a successful law firm. I had no specialized knowledge. And even worse than that, I didn't even know that there was any specialized knowledge. I didn't know it existed. So one day, Kirk said, I saw this seminar. It's about how to grow a law firm. And it had an intriguing title. It was called the Lawyer Money Tour. And it didn't cost that much. And we paid for it. We flew down to Miami and we went to it, and it changed my life. Because all of a sudden, it's like somebody took the blinders off of me, and I sat in that room. It was kind of jaw-dropping for me because all of a sudden I discovered the secret. Basically, the secret to success was in that room. And I put myself in what I'll just call a success club. And what does a success club do? Once I started learning and growing in this program, one of the most powerful things that happened is I saw other people doing what I wanted to do. I saw people that had been in the same situation I was currently in growing. And they had been there longer than I had, so they were ahead of me. But it proved to me that success was possible. And it proved to me that there was a set system for it. And so then I went to work because I said, what do I need to do? Because, I'm not lazy, and I'm not unwilling to try things and work, but I had to know what to do. So I met people, I learned from my teachers, and I trusted in the teachers and the mentors and people like that, and started taking the steps. Now, part two is the steps. I couldn't take the steps to success if I didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to succeed. So I had to learn that. But also it took some faith and trust, and I had to put aside the idea of like, what if this doesn't work? What if I waste some money? What if I spend time and energy on this? What if other people find out I'm doing it and I look foolish? And what if it doesn't work and I look like a fool and I just wasted money and I tried something crazy? That's harder to overcome than you really think. And that's in a lot of our subconscious minds that try to stop us. And it's important to be aware of that, because what difference did it make if it worked or not? I wasn't going to be much worse off. I couldn't have been much worse off in terms of revenue and systems and things like that in my law firm. And did me joining this club, did my joining this group Did that guarantee success? No. It absolutely did not guarantee success, but it made success possible. It also made success likely. The success was the probable outcome of me doing that. Now, of all the coaching programs that I've been in and all of the things that I've done, it clearly doesn't work for everybody. And the reason for that is either they're not hearing what they need to hear because they're not focused. You know, if I'm in a seminar and I'm checking my email, I'm looking at my phone, I'm doing something else, and I'm not tuned in, then I'm not going to get it. And so that's one thing. You have to tune in. You have to be in the mindset to listen and do it. And a lot of things like this, you get off your phone, get off your email. You stop checking your email. You immerse yourself in that room for 2 days or however many days it is. And that's what we do at Prosper at Law, is you put your damn phone down, get in the room, become engaged. And that's also one of the reasons that I'm such a firm believer in live in-person events. If you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this podcast, this is virtual. And virtual has its place, but there's nothing like engaging in a room in what I'll call a success club, because you're immersed in it and your environment changes. And part of what you have to do to become successful is you have to change your environment. You have to get out of the failure environment where everything's the same and get into an environment where things look and feel differently. And that's what happens at a live in-person event. So the other thing is, I had setbacks, I had failures, but I kept going. You have to keep going. Look, I wasted time, I wasted money. I haven't added up all the money that I've wasted on things that didn't work. And so there's a tendency, especially a middle-class mindset, where you'll hear people say it, and it instantly tells you what economic class they're in. Because if somebody says to you, as I've said myself, I'm embarrassed to say, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. And then that's where somebody stops. That's a middle-class mindset. The billionaires, the millionaires, they tried it, it didn't work. They tweak it or they try something else. They don't let it stop them. It's just like if you're a football fan, and coaches will talk about the quarterback is so good because he throws an interception for a touchdown. But he doesn't, quote, get down on himself. He doesn't lose his confidence. He goes back out there, takes the team down the field, scores a touchdown, and wins the game. That's the difference. He blew it. He made a mistake, and he made a mistake in front of 60,000 people or however many people are watching on television. They don't dwell on it because that quarterback, that successful quarterback, that all-pro quarterback or whoever it is, knows that that's part of it. Failure is coming, and things are not going to work. You keep going. There's a saying, when you're going through hell, keep going. So I kept going. 4, I accessed specialized knowledge. I met people and I worked with people who they didn't know all the answers. And there's another part of this that for years when I went to my coaching programs and went to seminars and things, and I would see people that had the success I wanted, and I thought maybe if I talked to them, I would learn some magic secret, like I found some treasure chest under a rainbow, and that's where the answers are. And it's not that simple. That's kind of a made-up fairy tale. But there is specialized knowledge, and the secret to success, the prize secret to success is not one thing, it's all the things. And it may be 100 things, and then all of these things that now you put in place and start doing, they start locking together and building momentum, and then you see things more clearly. And that's the secret. It's not just one magic thing. Now, there are also, quantum leaps and things like that where, and I've experienced that in my life where, I tried 10 things and then, 3 were a complete disaster. I lost money, signed a bad contract. This doesn't work. I would never know it didn't work if I hadn't tried it. So there's a lesson there, but then a couple of things really go, and then maybe there's one thing every now and then that really causes me to blast off. I find something that can take that quantum leap. But quantum leaps are, at least in my life, rare. It's more an accumulation of a lot of things that I'm doing and other people are doing. If I meet somebody that is far more successful than me and go, what's the secret of success? They're going to say the same thing I'm saying. They may say it better than me. They understand it better than me, and the proof is that where they are, but it's the same thing. And so the specialized knowledge was the key, because I met people who knew more than me. I met people that knew what I didn't know. I met people where I didn't know what I didn't know until I heard it for the first time. And if you've read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you'll know that the saying 3 feet from gold, where the person went out to mine for gold and found some gold and was mining the gold and then finally gave up because the gold ran out. And so they kept mining and digging and mining and digging, and the gold wasn't there anymore. And so the person became frustrated and gave up. And he gave up the claim, and he gave up all the equipment. And he sold it to somebody. It's basically a junk dealer who bought the mining equipment. And what the junk dealer did is hired a geologist. And the geologist came out and studied the mine and studied the land, studied the ground, studied the minerals, and said, turn this way, tilt it this way, for this angle, this percent, and dig in that direction, because that's the way gold veins run. The miner didn't have the specialized knowledge. The geologist did. The person that bought the mining equipment, the junk dealer, hired somebody with specialized knowledge who told him what to do. And then in 3 feet, the new miner struck gold and hit a huge lode of gold, the mother lode, through the use of specialized knowledge, because the miner was going in the wrong direction. And this is what happened to me. I didn't know there was specialized knowledge, but once I started to gain it, then it started moving me forward, and so to speak, I struck gold. So you have to know what you're doing. The only way to know that is to join a success club. The only way to believe in success is to actually experience it, and part of the way you experience it is by watching others do it. So you may be 3 feet from gold. You may not have any specialized knowledge, but that is what I would tell you is the secret of success. So I'm Greg McCollum. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.